According to a TD Ameritrade survey last year, young folks are saving their money either for college or a big purchase like a car. On today's Money Monday, we're focusing on teens and their financial literacy. Roy Paul is the executive director of Sensibility, a nonprofit organization that teaches young people how to make informed money management decisions. And welcome. You come all the way from New York, so we appreciate having you here.
Love Charleston.
Well, you know, and when we talk about sensibility and financial literacy, I mean, even for adults, that seems like a difficult concept.
It does. But, you know, we really found that for us, teenagers are at that critical age, right, where they're going to be going off to college, many of them taking out loans, and at a very soon point in their lives, they're going to be inundated with credit card solicitations, applying for their first apartments. So we feel like we're really catching them at a very, very pivotal age in their careers.
They certainly are. Well, I remember going to college. As soon as I stepped on campus, it was the first couple of days.
Right.
The credit cards were just all lined up. They had giveaways, pins. You could get credit instantly, and then you were being inundated also with the student loan. So debt piled on top of these young people from their freshman year on.
It's a very overwhelming experience. I remember for myself when I was inundated with credit card solicitations, and you say to yourself, look, you know, many times you don't have a lot of money, right? You're going to college, you're poor.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And you're saying, here's all of this money, what do I do with it? And it's frustrating because we know that credit is absolutely necessary. A lot of parents say to me all the time, should I let my kids take out a credit card? And they need to build credit, right? But it's about being wise with how you do it. And it's important that teenagers especially understand what their needs are versus their wants. At Sensibility, we teach a lot of low-income students from poor backgrounds. And so they say to us all the time, look, I want a $300 pair of sneakers. If I don't have the money, why can't I just put that on the card? Right? They don't understand that you don't really need sneakers to survive.
Right, yes.
And you're paying interest on those sneakers after you pay off the minimum payments forever, right? And so they don't really understand that the things that you put on your credit card are the things that you absolutely need to survive. If you don't need it to live, you can't put it on the card.
I remember walking into a store, and this is kind of when I was starting to edify myself on credit cards and interest rates and things like that. I walked into a store, some young lady, she was offering, well, if you want to open up a credit card with us, we'll give you 20% off your purchase today. And I said, well, what's your interest rate? She says, oh, I think it's something really good. It's like around 20%. 20% interest will put you in the poorhouse.
Sure.
Yeah.
And even on my flight here, actually, on American Airlines, they were advertising 60,000 bonus points if you signed up for a credit card, right? And of course, they didn't tell you all the fine print with it, but I remember one person asking, you know, what do I need to purchase on this card? And she said, oh, you just have to make a minimum purchase. It can be $1, right? But most people won't just charge $1, right? You got to charge a lot more than that. So it's very tempting to do that, but I think it's tough because you need the card, you need the credit, but you got to really manage it wisely. And I say to parents all the time, if you're in a position, if you find that your son, your daughter are taking out a credit card and they're falling behind on their payments, are not managing it well, if you can, really do step in to help them manage it because it can really affect them for the next several years.
That is true. I was looking at some statistics, so let's just talk a little bit about maybe the more positive side of what kids are learning these days. Half of teenagers work outside the home each month, so that's good to know that kids are earning their own money. They earn an average of $465 per month. It's not a whole lot, but it certainly is money in the bank that they are socking away, about 40% of it. But there are certain things that they do want to spend their money on, and there are two things in particular, clothes and food, that are almost equal. So that's still a draw, and technology, of course.
Right, sure.
Tablets and cell phones and things like that.
Right, and that all goes to leisure activities, right? Because teenagers, they spend their money and they want to go out and enjoy it, right? They've spent a lot of time earning it, doing whatever it is that they're doing. And so that's something that is very important for us to teach. We have a 50-30-20 rule that we teach at Sensibility. 50% of the things that of your budget goes to the things you absolutely need. So if you're not spending money on rent, then maybe you're paying your car note every month, right? Some source of responsibility. But 30% we do advocate to go out and spend because, you know, we know that if you tell a teenager, you know, take, 80% of your salary and save it, they're not going to do that, right?
Say, what?
That's not realistic. But we do say 20% you should save it, and that's for a rainy day, that's if your car breaks down, right? It's for things, and it also gets you in the habit of saving because a lot of teenagers don't save very well. For that matter, Americans in general don't save very well. So learning those habits early on are crucial.
What is the average that an American saves? I heard that most Americans don't even have $1,000 in their bank account.
Right. Most Americans do not have money for a rainy day, and that's a matter of a couple of $1,000s. A third of Americans don't have retirement savings at all, right? And so you get to a point in your life, you want to retire, you want to travel the world, spend time with your grandkids, and a lot of older Americans are forced to continue working until, unfortunately, it's too late.
Too late, that's right. All right, we have so many more things to talk about. We do need to take a break. We'll be back in 2 minutes. We're back with our guest, Roy Paul, Executive Director of Sensibility, a nonprofit organization that teaches young people how to make informed money management decisions. And so we were talking about student loans, credit, things like that. But let's dive a little bit deeper into the student loan situation. Kids coming out of high school, they're kind of overwhelmed with making sure they're making the grade, they're doing their finals, they're graduating, but then to also start researching for scholarships and free money that's out there can be rather daunting.
Yeah.
But how important is that?
This is one of my pet peeves because we find a lot of teenagers that come through our program. They know they're going to college. They know they're taking out student loans. And I always ask, this is my all-important question, what is your monthly payment going to be when you graduate in 4 years? Yeah. And seldom can I get an answer. And it's so disheartening for me because I have a lot of friends who've come out of college. They're, depending on the career that they're in, they're working, jobs that pay between $30,000, $40,000 a year, and they have to pay back $800, $900 a month, and they just can't do it. It's completely unsustainable for them. And so I always say to young people, it is legal in this country, unfortunately, for colleges, financial institutions to give you money that they know you really don't have a way of paying back. Right. And they say to you, maybe when you graduate, you can get a job and make that money to pay it back, and many people are lucky enough that they can sustain that. But oftentimes what we don't do is we don't tie what we're trying to study and what our potential salary is going to be with what we can actually pay back. And that's the pitfall that a lot of teenagers find themselves in. So when we were talking about that 50-30-20 rule, that 20% that you save and it goes towards debt repayment as well, you have to factor in what your potential salary is going to be in this prospective career that you want to be in. So if you want to be in broadcast journalism, right?
I was just going to ask you for an example.
And you want to work in, I don't know, New York, or if you want to work in South Carolina, what's the average salary for someone starting out?
Well, I can tell you there's a huge difference between Charleston, South Carolina and New York, New York. So.
On a lot of different levels, I'm sure. But we don't really walk ourselves through these scenarios. So what's the average salary that you can make? And, maybe you're a news assistant starting out. Is it $18 an hour? I don't know. But take 20% of your take-home salary that you're going to bring home and say to yourselves, can I afford this monthly payment with that salary? And if you can't, you're taking out too much in loans.
And that is just it because, in order to get a journalism degree, just for instance, as an example, right out of the gate, you're not going to be making that much money. It takes time to get to those bigger markets, which are the ones that offer more money, larger salaries. To go to an expensive college, that's also a little bit tricky because you want to make sure you go to the right college that has the proper program to do what you want to do, but then you also say, the career when you do graduate isn't necessarily going to match.
Right, and it's a catch-22, but ultimately I always tell teenagers, really err on the side of what's financially responsible, right? Yeah. Because what you find oftentimes too late is that if you don't think about whether or not you can afford that monthly payment early on before you take them out preferably, then you get to a situation where you can't take out the kind of car loans you want, you can't take out the kind of home loans you want because you're so fixated with paying off the student loan that it takes forever to pay off.
And with all that in mind, I could talk about this for hours, but with all that in mind, it's never too early to start saving. So just sock away that money because you're going to need it for a rainy day.
And ultimately, if you don't really grapple with your financial future, your upkeep is going to be your downfall.
Yeah, it certainly is. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I really appreciate your time. We're going to have all the information on Sensibility on our website, foxcharleston.com.